Peace and blessings, family. I am back, Chi Vital, aka King Chi, with another tool for your toolkits and how to create your lives. I am so excited to be here with you all. You know, I've been inspired. So here I am on Wisdom Wednesdays on the subject matter of silence. So as you tune in, please let me know you're in the building. I'd love to see you here. Let me see your hearts in the chat. And if you'd like, put a little shh. I'm going to spend this segment breaking down silence into three categories. Silence is a huge tool in my toolbox for different reasons. A lot of people revert to silence um, for different reasons, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. So I want to get into it so that you can have more mastery over the tactic. All right. Peace. Welcome back, Black Venusian. Welcome back, Vimenti. What's up, y'all? So, if you are keeping track of the Wisdom Wednesday segments, this is silence. We're going to have three subjects: silence as an attack, silence as a defense, and silence for healing. They are all very relevant, they're all easily applicable to various situations, and it gives you some choices. It gives you some choices. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right. First and foremost, if you're in this chat today, I love to integrate your experiences into the conversation. So feel free to use the chat to share with us some of your reasons for using silence. The first method or mode of using silence I want to get into is the one that most people truly hate. And that would be silence as an attack. So, silence as an attack uh, is our silent treatment. Okay? Everybody wants to call it silent treatment. And usually we look at treatment as something that's going to bring about more healing. But in reality, the silent treatment is an attack tactic. If you didn't know, now you know. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay? All right. The silent attack. So here's a couple of words that came to mind when sitting with the method of silence as an attack. One, when it's punitive. Punitive, meaning you're using it to punish someone. All right. When you're using it to punish someone, that means you've decided to be silent as a way of creating some type of distress in another individual intentionally. All right. For those of you watching, every time I give you a tool, I want you to look at using the tool with intention. So be aware of yourself and what you're doing. If you're using silence as an attack, then you're using it to punish an individual. And when you're using it as a punishment, you are now delving into the space of manipulation. I just got to put it out there. Now, I don't like being associated with words like manipulative and such. However, as you all know, the practice is to integrate the shadow, integrate the public persona, and make yourselves whole. And that's going to start with being really honest about your habits, your perspectives, the way that you think, even when you're not thinking the thoughts you want to think, but you're becoming more aware of some of the silent conversations that are occurring in your mind. So, why would I say that silence as a punitive method is manipulative? Well, here's an example. If you get into a situation where you decide that you're going to apply or give someone the silent treatment, you're creating a drop in communication with the purposes of creating chaos by receding or withdrawing. Okay? You are essentially stirring up and fueling chaos through your silence. One, you're creating the silent attack when you know that the other person, while sitting in the silence, is going to allow themselves to create the worst case scenario behind your absence. Okay? Make sense? You and I, we're adults. We all know the temperament of whoever we are deciding to use silence as an attack. Now, I'm not saying that the way the other person takes the silence determines your intention. So rewind it a bit and remember that if you're using silence as an attack, you are aware that you are intending to manipulate an individual to either give you something that you want, to make you break your silence, or to create some type of pain or disturbance within them as an attack for whatever reason you have, and letting them stew in their own chaos. Okay, so you're manipulating them by using their psychological habits that you are aware of and intentionally attacking them with your silence. All right, press 1 in the chat if you can admit that you have used the silent treatment as a punitive method. I love to see who's honest up in here. And if you're watching this and you are on the replay, feel free to leave it in the comments. Okay. So that's the first piece. Hey Cody, hey Paige. Welcome. Welcome y'all. So if you're aware of it, then you can totally be responsible for how that works out for you. Here's the second one. Okay. So silence as a defense. This is number 2. Silence as a defense. Now, here I'd like to say that it is important that you are aware of the subtle difference between the attack and the defense. Because in the defense, you're going to hear a word that creates space, and the word is create. Okay? You're creating a shield to an external attack. Okay, so the silence as a defense is actually a method that you're deciding to employ to defuel, okay, the fire. So you want to take your logs, logs are coming in as angry words or insertions, violence, physical violence. You're taking all of your attention out of the situation and deciding to hold a silent space in order to disengage the fighting. It's like the person is fighting with you verbally, um, or they were being verbally violent or physically violent, and you've decided to choose silence. To choose silence as a defense, to shield yourself from any unwanted energy coming your way, um, to shield yourself from any unwanted contact, to also create the necessary space for you to respond. All right. In this situation where you're choosing the silence as a defense, you have not chosen to attack the person. Okay. It's not, I'm being silent so that I can get you to do this, that, or the other. The only reason why you're choosing silence in that scenario is simply because you yourself want to experience the silence as a space of safety for you, because the whatever's coming at you can be very overwhelming. All right. Some of us know that there are people who, like, once they go off with the mouth, it's like eating bullets. And like, how many can you catch all at one time? And you create the space to defend yourself so that you can have a moment to kind of catch what you've heard and decide from a place of groundedness where the emotions come down, right? And you can think clearly in how you want to respond. So you're defending yourself. Okay. Now, again, while you're defending yourself, some people, revert back to Wisdom Wednesday's narcissist. Okay. Some people will say that your defense is an attack. Press one in the chat if you've experienced that. You've chosen silence over violence. And you were told that you are being violent, that you are creating more of an issue, you are being manipulative, that you are attacking uh you're attacking this person because you've decided to be silent. Okay, you've decided to be silent. It happens. And this is why I'm talking about silence, because silence is something that I want you to master, because it's such a beautiful and expansive tool for many things. But I think I've gotten it down to these three areas where you can expand from there and be able to feel comfortable in how you are wielding your silence, because that's the mastery of it all. It's not about what the other person says that you're doing, okay, when it comes to silence. And that's one of the masterful pieces of it, okay? Um, because, for example, if you are using silence as a defense and somehow you still don't feel at peace, then you will realize that you may need to use it as an attack, or you may need to use it for this next section that I'm going to move into. Ready for number 3? Are you ready for number 3? Put some jewels in the chat if you're ready for number 3. All right. So here we go. I see the jewels coming in. Silence for healing. So you're using silence as a healing method. Here's what happens when you're using silence as a healing method. And this will help you decipher or discern where your choice of silence is coming from. Okay? Understanding where your choice is coming from is half the battle of being intentional about your life. Speaking of which, if you see in the description below, my book my second published book, The Chosen Life, is now available on Amazon, and you can actually read it for free on Kindle. So check it out, please. Those of you who have already purchased the book years ago when I published it, it did really well. Go ahead and leave a review. It's such an easy book to get through, but it is a phenomenal tool, bedside tool, for you to organize your life by. Very simple methods, easy to apply immediately, not tough to read at all. You can even gift it to your teenager and they will be able to use it to get themselves into a mode of choosing the life that they want to live. Okay? All right. So let's talk about silence as a healing modality. All right. So here are some of the words that come to mind when I speak to silence, okay, as a healing. So we have listening inward, okay, listening inwardly. We have to go to silence in order to hear ourselves inwardly. Look at all these kisses coming in here. Hi, Taran. Engelman, you're going to make me blush on the camera. All right. So we're listening inwardly. We cannot experience the healing of silence if we're not silent. So here's a big difference between the defense and the healing. When we're using silence as a healing modality, we literally have to also have an environment that is silent. So this is not the silent where you're talking to everybody else but this particular person. You're talking or you're listening to music or whatever in the midst of using silence as a treatment, as a healing. You are all the way immersed in silence that is um outside of the organic noise. So like what I'm hearing are birds chirping right now. If I decide to use silence as a healing modality, I could very well sit in the midst of the forest, a jungle, or in the mountains where there's going to be nature is going to be making noise. But that's the only thing. I won't be speaking to anyone. I won't I may not be speaking to myself out loud. I will literally be spending time being silent, immersed in the conversations that are coming from within. And although it seems like sometimes it can seem like a very easy tool to implement, it's actually not. Because if you engage in other forms, like you pick up your phone and you're scrolling, you have now broken the silence of healing because there is a noise, there is a conversation, there is this input coming from something artificial that disturbs the conversation that is happening from within. So you have the listening inwardly. Then you also have this connection with pure intuition, pure intent. When we shut out the noise of coming out of our mouths and from putting it into our ears and our eyes from other people, okay? We have the opportunity to hear more clearly that higher voice of reason, that higher voice of understanding, that higher voice of expanded perspective. Okay? Let me get some more likes, y'all. Let me get some more likes. Thumbs up this video and please do share. Okay? When we are using silence as a healing modality, we can also be in a stage of planning. Okay? We're planning, we are reflecting on our lives, past, present, and our future. All right? And we are planning. And so the silence as healing creates another level of focus. And this method of applying silence is what I would deem as the highest, most potent form of getting into a space of focus. Because now, when you're in a space of silence as healing, you're learning to even sift through the noise that is coming from within. When we are in silence as a defense, we still are managing external sources. So we may be getting focused because we don't necessarily have the distraction of the attacks coming in from this other entity. However, the maximum level of focus is going to come from using silence as a healing. All right? Put some jewels in the chat if this makes sense to you and you see the nuances as we build from attack to defense to healing when utilizing silence as a tool. So here's the thing, right? Let me ask you this. As I break silence down as a tool into these three categories, how many of you actually thought about how diverse the tool of silence actually is? I'm just curious. How many of you have always even had this understanding about silence as a tool? You can press 1 in the chat if you were fully aware of the various ways of applying silence, and press 2 in the chat if you didn't really give it that much thought. So here's the thing, right? About mastering silence. When you have these three categories moving forward as tools in your toolbox, sorry, your toolkit, right? You can see how effective you are at using the tool. So, for example, when you're deciding to use the silent attack, right? The silent treatment. If you're using it as an attack, which is punitive and manipulative, and you're choosing to create chaos, if you don't get that outcome, then you'll know that tactic doesn't work for you in that situation. And so you'll be less inclined to use it in that particular situation so that you can move on to other tools that actually work to get you what you want. All right? There's no shame in you figuring out ways to get what you want. All right? And I think that that's important if we're going to look at whole human beings who are shadow workers, who are going to integrate themselves in all aspects of themselves to recognize that if you need to get something, that you have a way to get it. And so using this as an attack, if it ain't working, throw it out. But if it works, then you know, and you can know that you are wielding it well. Now, silence as a defense. What I find interesting about using silence as a defense is that what if what if it's not working? What if it's actually creating more anxiety for you? You see what I'm saying? You may be quiet because you want to create this space, but you are actually the person that in the silence you cannot take the thoughts running through your mind during your silence. Because if you're using it as a defense to create more space for you to respond, and the person that you are creating space with gives you the space that you desired, is it really a defense, or have you now created uh, an attack on yourself? So you want to be mindful that if you're using it as a defense, that is truly something you desire. That, and this is where you'll know for a fact: are you using it as a defense, or are you using it as an attack? If I'm using silence as a defense, and the person or the other party gives me the silence that I need, I actually feel accomplished. I feel suffice in a space because I needed that space to respond, and I needed that space to feel safe. But if underlying, right, I'm using the silence to be violent, then when I don't see the person, um pardon me, if I think that I'm using it as a defense, and then suddenly when the person is giving me the space, I feel like they're attacking me, then you might want to reconsider the fact that you were trying to use it as a manipulative tactic and an attack, and that didn't work out for you, which is why you feel defeated. And now you end up with the anxiety, and all of the bullets of your silent treatment are now making you feel like crap. So this is a great awareness, okay, of your intentions and where you really stand with using the tool of silence. Lastly, if you're using silence for healing, all right, and you find that you really get agitated in the silence of being disconnected from everything all around you, as opposed to seeing that you become more creative, more focused, more pinpointed on what you need to do, and productive, then you have more to learn about being able to sit with yourself. And then you realize that you do require some more time to hear what's going on inside of you. Because if you cannot sit in your own silence, meaning you cannot sit with the most authentic um, parts of yourself, the parts of yourself that are ugly or unacceptable, the parts of yourself that are truly soft, vulnerable, compassionate, then you want to reflect on that some more and give yourselves more opportunities to be in a silence as a healing practice, and kind of schedule it out so that you can become masterful in the three areas of applying science. All right? What y'all think about that? It's Wisdom Wednesdays. So again, for those of you who are seeking to have like a little handbook, right, that you can throw in your pocketbook or in your inside pocket of your jacket, The Chosen Life is now available on Amazon, y'all. It's available. The link is there in the chat. It's also in the description box below. Go and grab that. If you have Kindle, you can open it up for free right now on your phones or on your tablets, your iPads. And let me know what you think about it. It's an interactive book. You get to insert some of it's not a full workbook, but there are pieces of it that you have to put yourself in. And if you've been following my videos for quite a bit, a lot of the tools that have been shared here on my YouTube channel can be implemented into the book. And if you're needing some form of accountability, trust, it's very, very simple, but it's super, super duper effective in creating some type of structure for you moving forward and creating a habits that you really want to use to get stronger, more focused, more productive in your lives. All right, so tell me what you think about it. Give me a shout and welcome back to my channel. I'll link up with you all soon. And peace, love, and bliss.